Long ago, before time was counted, the heavens were home to gods of Olympus and Titans, beings as ancient as the stars. Their voices rolled like thunder. Their presence shaped mountains and rivers. For ages they lived apart, bound by rivalry and old pride, their silence heavy across the cosmos. Yet an oracle whispered of a day to come, a trial not of war, but of truth, a test to see if harmony could be born between these two powers of creation. At the center of this trial stood Zeus, ruler of Olympus, master of thunder and sky. But this time, his strength would not be measured in storms or lightning. Instead, he would wield wisdom, choice, and the courage to listen. The stage was set for a gathering unlike any other in heaven or earth. The Titans and the Olympians would stand together, side by side, in the Valley of Echoes. And there, the past would meet the future through questions deeper than power. This is the story of the Trial of Titans, a tale of voices united, and the discovery that true strength lies in harmony. In the first days, the sky was learning to hold its stars, and the seas were shaping their endless tides. The gods of Olympus rose in radiant power, claiming the high throne of heaven. The Titans, ancient and vast, had shaped mountains and carved rivers at the dawn of time, but silence stretched between them. The gods remembered their rise. The Titans remembered their fall. Between them lay a distance as wide as the night sky, yet whispers move where silence rules. In Delphi, an oracle stirred, her vision heavy with light from what was yet to be. Her voice trembled like a flame in the dark. "The day will come," she said. "Gods and Titans will gather, not to conquer, not to destroy, but to face a trial. The trial of Titans." The words drifted like wind through ancient caves, carrying far beyond her chamber. Some said the whisper reached Olympus, into the throne room of Zeus himself. Others claimed it moved through dreams, murmuring into the slumber of Titans. Wherever it traveled, it planted questions deeper than rivalry. What is a trial without weapons? What is a contest without victory? For those who listened, the message was clear. The trial would measure not storms, not stone, not the strength of arms. It would measure balance. It would measure truth. It would test the courage to listen. Zeus, Lord of the sky, felt the weight of the words. His thunder had silenced storms. His command had bent the world to obey. But this trial was different. How does one prepare for a contest where force has no meaning? Night after night, Zeus gazed at the stars, searching their silent glow. Was the prophecy a warning or an invitation? The gods debated. Athena spoke of wisdom and the chance to shape a new future. Apollo wondered if harmony could be born of song and light. Poseidon doubted the Titans would surrender their pride. And deep in the earth, the Titans stirred. Some rumbled with caution, remembering wounds of long ago. Others, older still, listened like rivers flowing in the dark. The whisper spread, not louder, but deeper. The stones seemed to carry it. The wind seemed to sing it. The world itself seemed to wait. Farmers heard it in the rustle of their fields. Sailors felt it in the shifting of the waves. Even children paused in play, sensing a story carried by the sky. It was not fear the prophecy brought. It was wonder, for if gods and Titans could one day stand together, perhaps all things could be healed. Zeus rose from his throne, knowing the silence was ending. The whisper had become a call, and soon the call would become a gathering. The trial of Titans was no longer only a vision. It had become a promise. Zeus sat upon his throne of clouds, but his thoughts were heavier than the sky itself. The whisper of prophecy lingered, carrying a weight no thunderbolt could scatter. He was king of Olympus, master of storm and lightning, ruler of the high heavens. His voice could command gods and mortals. His power could split mountains and calm seas. Yet this trial was unlike any storm. It called for no battle, demanded no clash of power. It asked for reflection, for choice, and for a new kind of courage. In the silence of Olympus, Zeus let his mind wander back through time. He remembered the rise of the Olympians, the struggle with the Titans, the silence that followed. Pride had built walls between them. higher than mountains, stronger than stone. And he wondered, could such walls ever be lowered? The stars blinked above like eyes that refused to close. They seemed to whisper questions he could not ignore. Could gods and titans, bound by memory, find common ground? Could he, a ruler of storms, become a guide toward harmony? Zeus turned to the winds, but they carried only the sigh of drifting clouds. He turned to the earth, but it stayed silent, patient, unshaken. He turned to the sea, but its restless tides gave no answer. The world itself seemed to wait for his choice. Athena came to him, calm and wise. "Father," she said, "wisdom must light the way. The trial is a bridge, not a battle." Her words sank into him like water into stone. Wisdom was a lantern, but it only mattered if one dared to walk into the dark. Apollo visited next, his golden lyre by his side. "There is music in harmony," he said. "If gods and titans join, the world will sing again." Zeus felt a stirring. Could music succeed where thunder had failed? Poseidon came last. Fierce as the sea itself. "You trust too easily," he warned. "The titans will not share. They will take." Zeus heard him, and though sharp, the words carried truth. Caution was a seed worth keeping. Night after night, Zeus returned to reflection. He paced the halls of Olympus, where marble pillars gleamed in moonlight. He stood on cliffs where the sky met the sea, staring at the horizon. Balance seemed distant, but still he searched for it. In his heart, the weight of choice pressed deeper. To ignore the prophecy was to risk the future. To accept it was to risk himself. Storms gathered one night as Zeus raised his eyes to the heavens. Lightning flickered, not in anger, but in thought. For the first time, he saw his power not as a weapon, but as a responsibility. The trial would test not his strength, but his vision. And slowly, a resolve grew within him. He would not hide from the prophecy. He would summon the Olympians and call upon the Titans. He would open the Valley of Echoes to a gathering never seen before. But first, he would prepare himself. Not with thunder, not with force, but with patience, with listening, with the will to seek harmony where there had been only silence. The prophecy was no longer a whisper. In the heart of Zeus, it had become a promise. And promises, once spoken, cannot be ignored. Zeus called the gods of Olympus to gather in the golden halls of the mountain. The whisper of prophecy had reached them all, and questions stirred like restless winds. The marble pillars glowed in the light of dawn, casting long shadows across the floor. Each god arrived with thoughts as heavy as the stars above. Athena was the first to speak, her voice calm and steady. "Father," she said, "wisdom must lead us. The trial is not about victory, but vision." Her words carried weight, reminding all that battles of the mind can shape the future. Apollo rose next, his golden lyre resting against his side. "Light and song bring harmony," he said. "Perhaps the trial calls us to weave our voices together." His eyes shone like the sun, filled with hope that music could mend division. Poseidon followed, his trident gleaming with salt and spray. "The sea knows no trust," he warned. "The Titans will not bow. They will test us." His voice rumbled like waves striking stone, a sound of doubt and caution. Hera, queen of Olympus, lifted her gaze and spoke with quiet strength. "What future do we leave for those yet to come?" she asked. Her question cut deeper than thunder, reminding them all of generations unborn. Demeter, goddess of harvest, nodded gently. "If harmony is found, the earth itself will bloom. If not, fields will wither." The hall grew quiet, each god lost in thought. Even Ares, who longed for conflict, found no words. The prophecy was not about war. It was about balance, about truth, about listening. And so, in the halls of Olympus, the assembly turned their eyes to Zeus. Would he summon the Titans? Would he risk silence becoming a storm? Or dare to call for harmony? The choice, though heavy, was his alone. And as the council ended, Olympus itself seemed to hold its breath. The council of Olympus ended, but Zeus did not stay upon his throne. He rose, tall as the sky, and stepped into the open air. His heart wrestled with the weight of choice. Though his mind was steady, the prophecy had spoken, and each god had shared their vision. Wisdom urged caution. Hope urged harmony. Doubt whispered of betrayal. But Zeus knew no voice could decide for him. A trial could not be true without the Titans. To summon them risked old wounds. To ignore them denied prophecy. And so, Zeus chose. He called upon Hermes, the swift messenger of gods. Hermes appeared, sandals bright with light, eyes alive with curiosity. "Fly," said Zeus. "Go to the valleys where Titans dwell. Carry my invitation. Tell them the trial has come, not of battle but of truth. Tell them they are welcome." Hermes bowed, surprise and respect flickering in his gaze. "Will they trust your words?" he asked. "They must," Zeus replied. "The prophecy calls to us all." With a sweep of wind, Hermes vanished. He flew to the hidden places where Titans had long remained. Some slept in caverns deep beneath the earth. Some wandered mountains, shaping valleys with their vast steps. Some lingered near forests and rivers, quiet as stone and bark. To them, Hermes came, voice clear, words bearing Zeus's authority. He spoke of the oracle's vision and the invitation of choice. The Titans were silent at first, faces carved with ancient wisdom. Then murmurs rose, deep as thunder before a storm. "Why now?" one asked. "What do the gods seek of us?" said another. Hermes answered with patience. "Not conquest, not chains, only truth. The trial is for both gods and Titans alike. Without you, it cannot begin." The eldest Titan raised his gaze. His voice was steady, moving the stones themselves. "If the oracle calls for trial, then it summons us as well." The others grew quiet, pondering his words. They remembered old conflicts, but they also felt destiny stir. The prophecy was not a chain. It was a path, and though uncertain, the path called them forward. Hermes bowed once more, task fulfilled. He carried their silence as an answer. When he returned to Olympus, Zeus stood waiting. Hermes spoke no words, but his eyes told all. The Titans would answer. The invitation had been given. The silence of ages had begun to break. The trial was no longer a whisper. It was approaching. The gods of Olympus prepared their hearts. The Titans stirred from long silence, and the world itself held its breath. Far from Olympus, in valleys untouched by time, the Titans stirred. The message of Zeus lingered in their hearts like a seed waiting to grow. For ages, they had lived apart from the gods of Olympus, some by choice, others by exile, all bound by memory. Their silence had been both prison and sanctuary. Now, that silence was breaking. In a wide canyon, the Titans gathered. They came not with weapons, nor with fury. They came with questions. Each step shook the earth, not as threat, but as reminder. They too were part of creation, as eternal as the stars above. Krios spoke first, voice slow and patient like the heavens. "The gods of Olympus call us." "But why now?" Hyperion answered, radiant as a rising Sunday. "Perhaps they seek not our strength, but our presence. A trial of truth, not conquest." Oceanus flowed into the circle, calm but unyielding. Water does not resist forever. It bends. It carves. Perhaps this trial is a carving of destiny. Atlas raised his voice, burden heavy on his back. "Have we not endured enough trials? Why should we trust those who once chained us in silence?" The air grew still, heavy with memory and choice. Themis stepped forward, eyes steady with clarity. "The prophecy belongs to balance, not to gods or Titans alone. If we refuse, we deny the path creation sets before us." Her words fell like quiet rain, soft but undeniable. The Titans felt the truth echo within her voice. Their gazes shifted, one by one. The prophecy was not a chain, nor a command. It was an invitation to join something greater. Even Atlas, heavy with doubt, bowed his head. "If this trial is of voices, not chains, we will go. We will stand, not bow." And so, the Titans prepared. They readied no weapons, for none were needed. They prepared their hearts, their memories, their questions. They prepared to face the gods as equals, not as enemies. Mountains shifted as they began their journey. Rivers hummed with their presence. Forests bent their branches in reverence. The world itself moved with them. Olympus glowed above like a beacon. The Titans rose below like the dawn. Two powers, ancient and eternal, moved toward the same horizon. The trial was no longer a whisper. It was becoming real. As the Titans stepped toward Olympus, the earth seemed to listen. For the first time in ages, creation carried not war, but possibility. Between Olympus and the shadowed lands lay the Valley of Echoes. Mountains rose like guardians. Rivers wound in silence. And air carried whispers across the stone. A whisper at one end could be heard at the other. Every word lived on, softer but never lost. For this reason, the valley was chosen for the trial. If truth was to be found, no voice could vanish unheard. The valley itself seemed to wait. Winds brushed the cliffs, carrying songs of memory. Birds circled above, wings glinting like silver. Hidden springs sang faintly beneath the earth. The stage of the world was ready. Zeus stood upon a high ridge, looking across the valley. He felt sky and earth meet here, balanced and eternal. This was no battlefield. This was a chamber of voices, carved by time itself. One by one, the gods of Olympus arrived. Athena studied the ridges with thoughtful eyes. Apollo carried his lyre, strings humming faintly. Hera walked with quiet dignity, gaze steady on the horizon. Poseidon softened his stride, the sea's salt still clinging to him. They gathered not in ranks, but in a circle. The earth shifted, and shadows stretched across the valley. The Titans had come. They emerged, vast and steady, like mountains in motion. Hyperion glowed with the warmth of countless dawns. Oceanus rippled with the calm of endless rivers. Atlas moved with the heaviness of burden, yet his gaze was steady. The Titans, too, gathered in a circle. For a long moment, silence filled the valley. The wind carried it, the stones held it, and echoes seemed to pause. Gods and Titans stood face to face, not by chains, but by choice. Themis broke the silence, her voice clear and steady. We are here because the prophecy calls us, not to conquer, not to bow, but to see. Athena answered, calm and firm. We too are here not to rule, but to listen. If truth is to be found, it must come from all voices. Their words echoed, carried again and again through the valley. Even as sound softened, its meaning remained strong. Something had already shifted. Distance was giving way to recognition. The Valley of Echoes had done its work. Every word spoken here would remain, carried in memory, carved into stone. As the sun lowered, shadows stretched across the ground. Gods and Titans stood ready. The trial was no longer a prophecy. It was beginning. When gods and Titans stood together in the Valley of Echoes, there was no throne, no crown, no weapon. The trial was not about power. It was about presence, about voices, about truth carried through time. Zeus stepped forward, raising his hand not in command but in invitation. We will not decide through might, he said. Here, words shall be our measure. Every voice, every truth must be heard. The valley caught his words and scattered them back, softer, but never lost. It was as if the land itself agreed. Themis stood tall, her calm presence steadying the circle. This trial shall be like a scale, she said. Each voice, a weight, each truth, a stone upon the balance. When it settles, the path shall be revealed. And so, the weighing of voices began. Apollo spoke first. His voice touched with music. The light of reason must guide us, he said. Day and night belong to both. Each gives meaning to the other. His words echoed, weaving with the hum of his lyre. Then Hyperion spoke, glowing with the warmth of dawns. I know brightness well, he said, yet even the sun must set. Balance is the way of the cosmos. The echoes carried his words, weaving light into song. Athena's turn came. Wisdom is not born of one side alone, she said. It grows where voices meet. Even in disagreement, truth takes shape. Oceanus answered, his voice like a river. Wisdom without depth is empty. Rivers carve valleys because they are fed by countless streams. So too must truth flow from many sources. The pattern was forming. God and Titan, voice and echo, weaving together. Hera's voice was firm and steady. Order is not ruled by one. It is harmony, born of respect. Atlas answered, his tone heavy but enduring. I carry weight, not as punishment, but as duty. Burden does not break, it steadies. So must this trial carry the weight of all voices. One by one, they spoke. Poseidon with the restless rhythm of the sea. Demeter with the gentle strength of harvest and growth. Chaos, titan of intellect, with thoughts that reached beyond stars. Each voice was different, yet none was lost. The Valley of Echoes gave every truth its space, every word its resonance. For hours, the circle held. Voices rose and fell, clashed and blended, but all remained. And then, silence returned. The echoes folded into stone, like seeds waiting for their time. No verdict was spoken. No side claimed victory. Yet something had changed. Zeus looked across the circle. In the faces of gods and titans, he saw not enmity, but recognition. This trial was not about strength. It was about which voices could endure. It was about which truths could live alongside others. As the stars pierced the twilight sky, the valley whispered back, the balance is not yet settled, but the world has heard you. The Valley of Echoes was not only for gods and titans. Far below Olympus, mortals lived, and they too had voices. The trial was never meant for the divine alone. It was about all who walked beneath the sky. One evening, as the trial stretched on, the winds carried whispers. They came from villages, from fields, from seas far away. Mortals had heard of the gathering in the valley. They wondered if their voices, too, might be carried there. A shepherd lifted his song to the mountains. A mother spoke softly as she planted seeds. Sailors sang with the rhythm of waves and wind. Each voice was small, but together they rose like a tide. The valley caught them, as it had with gods and titans. The whispers carried across stone, weaving into the echoes. Gods posed, titans listened. They realized the trial was no longer theirs alone. Human voices mingled with divine ones. No word was too small to matter. Zeus closed his eyes, hearing them. Not just the chorus of Olympus, nor the strength of titans, but the heartbeat of mortals, steady and real. Athena whispered, wisdom is not only in us, it is born wherever minds seek truth. Themis added, order is not kept by gods alone. It lives in the choices of every soul. The titans, too, heard something new. Atlas murmured, burden belongs not only to me. Each mortal carries their own weight, yet walks forward. Hyperion bowed his head, as if dawn itself belonged to them all. And so the valley swelled with voices, divine and mortal alike. Not louder, but fuller. Not stronger, but richer. Every word mattered. Every truth endured. The Valley of Echoes became more than a place of judgment. It became a chorus, a living song of many. For the first time, gods, titans, and mortals shared a truth, that no single voice was enough, that the world was shaped by all who spoke. The trial shifted again, no longer a balance of two sides. It was a harmony of countless voices. And as the stars wheeled above, the valley held them all. Every echo carried the promise. The story belongs to everyone. The valley was hushed, the echoes resting as if waiting. In its heart lay a hidden spring, unseen until voices rose together. Tonight, as silence fell, the spring began to stir. Its surface shone like silver glass, a mirror of memory, older than gods, older than titans, born of the earth's first breath. It did not show what was, nor what will be. It revealed only what must be remembered. Themis stepped forward first, bending toward the waters. She saw the first dawn, light touching the newborn sky. She saw the first harvest, mortals gathering grain. She saw the first promise between God and Titan, spoken in trust. Memory, she whispered, is the soil where truth takes root. The gods leaned closer. Apollo saw music's rise, a shepherd's song carried through time. Athena saw wisdom woven, threads spun across generations. Hera saw devotion, not in temples, but in acts of care. The Titans, too, gazed into the spring, Oceanus saw rivers shaping land, patient and enduring. Hyperion saw dawn after dawn, each one unique, yet bound to the next. Atlas saw burden become legacy, carried with resilience. Then came mortal voices, faint but steady. The spring revealed laughter, struggles, hopes in stars and soil, brief lives, yet memory long, carried in story and song. Zeus stepped forward last. He did not see lightning, thrones, or Olympus power. He saw a child looking to the sky, hoping gods could hear. He saw a titan steady beneath heaven's weight, unbroken. He saw mortals planting trees whose shade they would never know. He breathed deeply, and understanding came. Power was not in command, but in remembrance, for what is remembered endures. The spring rippled, its light spreading across the valley. Gods, titans, and mortals felt their stories reflected, not alone, but part of a greater whole. Athena spoke softly. If memory binds us, let us weave it together. Let no voice be forgotten. Let no truth be lost. Oceanus nodded. The rivers of memory flow into one sea. The mirror of memory became part of the trial. Not to crown one side, but to show truth was shared. The waters calmed, and stillness returned. But in the silence was fullness, not emptiness. Every word, every truth had found its place. The trial moved forward, not to victory, but to understanding. And above, the stars shone brighter, as if they too remembered. The valley stirred once more, waiting for the next truth. The mirror of memory had spoken, yet the trial was not complete. Themis rose, her voice steady, her gaze unshaken. Before her appeared a great scale, glowing with light. It was no scale of gold or stone, but one born of truth. Its bowls were made not for treasure, but for words. The trial cannot be measured by strength or power, she said. It must be weighed in what is spoken, promised, and kept. The gods leaned close, listening. The titans shifted, curious. The mortals held their breath, whispers carried by the wind. Zeus stepped forward, thunder in his voice, yet gentle. I speak not as ruler, but as witness. Let Olympus remember its pride and its silence. His words floated to the scale, glowing as they settled. Next came Hera, firm yet tender. Loyalty is not temples or vows. It is care that endures when unseen. Her words joined Zeus's, and the scale grew heavier with meaning. Atlas spoke, steady as mountains. A burden is not punishment. It is the teacher of strength. His words landed like stone, anchoring the balance. Hyperion lifted his eyes to the sky. Light belongs not to one, but to all. Each dawn rises for gods, titans, and mortals. His truth shone bright upon the scale, touching both sides. Then came mortal voices, soft yet steady. A farmer's whisper. We work the soil for children we may never see. A sailor's song. The sea teaches patience. Its tides, never ours to command. Their words carried the same weight as those of gods. Athena stepped forward, her tone calm and precise. Wisdom is not only silence, it is listening. To speak alongside, not over. Her truth brought the bowls closer to stillness. Themis raised her voice once more. Words can heal or wound. They can bind or break, but only truth endures. The valley fell silent. The scale trembled, glowing as though alive. Every word, divine or mortal, was held in perfect balance. For truth was not made to crown a victor. It was made to hold all voices in harmony. The bowls stilled, and the valley exhaled. The echoes returned, carrying truths as one chorus. In that moment, they understood. Words, when true, are stronger than thunder, steadier than stone, brighter than dawn. The trial would continue, but now it carried the balance of speech, the power of promises, the harmony of words weighed and remembered. The valley that once rang with voices now grew still. After truths were spoken, something else was needed. Silence. For a long moment, no one spoke. Gods, titans, and mortals stood in quiet reflection. It was not emptiness, but fullness. heavy with meaning. Themis lowered the scales. Words alone cannot finish this trial. We must hear what lingers after speech. Athena nodded, calm and knowing. Wisdom often grows in pauses. In silence, meaning takes root. Atlas closed his eyes and breathed. Hyperion gazed toward the horizon, where dawn waited. Even Zeus let the stillness settle in his heart. The valley became a sanctuary of quiet. The air smelled of pine and stone. The wind wove gently through branches. In that stillness, each being heard, not only themselves, but one another. Athena felt courage bloom. Perhaps the gods do hear us, he thought. A sailor, gazing at the stars, whispered within, perhaps we are part of their song. Their silent hopes drifted into the valley. The echoes returned, not loud, but soft. They carried not words, but resonance. Every vow, promise, and truth lingered in harmony. The valley itself seemed to breathe, alive with memory and silence, woven as one. Themis whispered, this silence is not absence, it is presence. It is the gift that lets truth endure. Hera added, even devotion must rest to find new strength. Zeus spoke after long thought, power too must yield to stillness. Without silence, thunder is only noise. The Titans bowed their heads. They saw silence not as weakness, but as strength's foundation. The valley held the stillness like a jewel. The stars shimmered brighter, leaning closer to listen. Even the earth beneath seemed to rest. Athena gave the silence its meaning. Speech is precious, but silence completes it. Truth needs both word and breath. The echoes answered with a soft hum. Not godly, not mortal, but something greater. Balance. The trial deepened, guided by stillness. The Valley of Echoes became the Valley of Silence. Not empty, not lost, but whole. The still point from which all voices could rise again. When the silence lifted, no one rushed to break it. They spoke softly, carefully, reverent in tone. Every word chosen, every truth carried more weight. The trial had not ended, but it had deepened. Now they knew. Silence, too, was a gift. The valley had echoed with voices, held memory in water, weighed truths in words, and rested in silence. Now, as the night reached its deepest hour, the first hint of dawn appeared. At the edge of the horizon, a pale light stirred. Hyperion raised his head, his eyes softer than before. The day is near, he whispered, and with it, clarity. Gods, titans, and mortals turned to watch the horizon glow. The trial had reached its final turn, though no verdict was spoken. Themis stepped forward, her scales balanced, calm, and steady. The trial was never about victory, she said. It was about understanding, about how all live together beneath the same sky. Zeus lowered his head, quiet, humble. Let us end not with crowns or chains, but with covenant. Let gods, titans, and mortals honor the same dawn. Atlas stood tall, the heavens heavy, yet lighter in spirit. I will carry the sky not as punishment, but as part of the whole. The heavens belong to all. Hera's voice warmed the air. Let devotion be shared in love, in care, in protection. Athena's voice followed. Let wisdom guide us to harmony, not conquest. May the smallest voice be heard beside the greatest. Then mortals spoke, their voices gentle but strong. We will till the soil with reverence, said a farmer. We will sail with respect for sea and sky, said a sailor. We will tell the stories, so none are forgotten, said a child. And so dawn broke fully, light gilding stone and stream. The voices of trial blended into one chorus, gentle, unending. Themis raised her hand. The trial is complete. Its end is not judgment, it is beginning. For truth will grow as dawn grows into day. The valley glowed, alive with promise. Zeus stood tall, no longer above the others. The sky is vast enough for all, he said. Let us walk into the day together. The Titans bowed, not in defeat, but in respect. Mortals lifted their eyes, no longer with fear, but with trust. The gods felt a bond greater than power understanding. The sun rose golden, bright. The Valley of Echoes shone with a new name, the Valley of Dawn. Voices had clashed, memories revealed, truths weighed. silences honored. What remained was not struggle, but harmony. The trial had ended, yet its echoes would endure. Light spread across mountains and seas. Gods, titans, and mortals stepped forward together into the dawn of understanding.